Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the show. Happy Monday one and all. We are in the same spot as yesterday because the algorithm seemed to favor it and because I quite like how my bicep looks at this angle. I'll be honest with you. As always, the fire extinguisher is in the background just in case this content catches fire. However, today does unfortunately have to come with a bit of a disclaimer, a little bit of a caveat. They have decided in their infinite wisdom to, I don't really know what they're doing, let's just say rebuild the road right outside of my flat. So if you hear every 15 seconds, as I have been all morning, then know that it is that and not me. I will absolutely do my best to keep my concentration, but I'm sure you can imagine it is incredibly difficult to remain compendious when there is drilling right outside of your flat. Anyway, let's get into today's topic. I think it's a topic that's going to resonate with a lot of people. And that is what to do if you are feeling insert negative emotion. This could be anything from sad, depressed, anxious, and the rest of them. You know, you don't need me to sit here listing them out for you. Because I think, my personal view, and this is anecdotal feedback, is that when we feel like that, it's normally because we've lost control. In the immediate moment, it's because of X, Y, or Z. But after a while, after that moment has passed, the acute point has passed, I believe it's because we've lost control, and it's because we don't necessarily understand why we feel like we do. And I'm recording this video today and this podcast because that's exactly how I felt this weekend, being completely honest. I have been riding an absolute high for months, being completely honest with you. Sure, I've had the odd couple of hours here or there, maybe even a day where I've been a bit like, oh, what's the point? This is hard, I don't want to do this. The sort of inner child kicks in, the frontal lobe expands, and we just want to give up with this stuff. However, I have been in this game long enough, I am introspective enough, and I am able to use my critical thinking faculties to a point where I know that there is a reason that I will be feeling like this. And if I am to investigate internally why I feel like this, then the chances are I will be able to not only diagnose, but to treat the issue, which is the most important thing. So, to do that, we have to look at the inputs. Because ultimately, life is basically just a game of inputs and outputs. And the annoying thing is that good inputs take time to translate to good outputs. Whereas bad inputs translate to bad outputs almost instantly. Easy examples: go out drinking, hungover within like 6 to 12 hours. Terrible night's sleep, feel awful immediately as soon as you wake up for the whole day. Whereas good inputs, I don't know, drink a lot of water, have a clean diet, go for lots of walks, get sunlight, etc., etc. You don't necessarily feel a lot better in that moment. It takes consistency, it takes a compound effect, and most frustratingly of all, it takes time. So, life isn't fair. We've got that out of the way, okay? But what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna run you through how I treat myself when this happens to me. It's almost like you're gonna get a live insight into my internal thought process, because what I do is I literally go through a list of inputs and I sort of rate myself on those inputs for the last 3 to 5 days. And I'll basically try and do that to figure out why I feel like I do. And then that gives me the insight into be like, okay, well, this is the inputs, this is how I feel. I don't want to feel like this anymore. So what inputs do I need to change to feel better again? And then having a realization that I'm not going to tweak those inputs and I'm not going to get the good output straight away. But if I continue to do them over a series of days, it will start to get better. Because I have been in incredible low places, and the obvious sort of thing to do these days, I suppose, is to reach for the medication. I found out this terrifying stat over the weekend that apparently 40% of men in their 30s in America, I think it was 38% to be accurate, are on some kind of prescription medication. Because sometimes when you see these studies and they say like 70% of people are on prescription medication, they're being a bit cheeky, because what they're doing is they're also lumping in women who are on the contraceptive pill. So it's like, I wanted to just look at, as much as I could, men, obviously no contraceptive pill yet, and who are in their 30s, so young, and really shouldn't be on prescription healthcare unless, of course, they have some kind of genetic mutation, autoimmune disease, disability, whatever it might be, okay? 40%. So let's say that 5% of that is unavoidable. It's people who, just had shit luck, basically. Autoimmune diseases, mental health, like severe mental health issues. I'm talking autism and things like this, and physical disabilities, right? Or they've been injured in war or whatever it might be, something horrendous like that. So this means that of the 40%, 35% of it is preventable, right? And that depresses me, it scares me. I guess more than anything, it just angers me. It angers me that there's not more help for these guys. And that is one of the main reasons I do what I do. It's one of the main reasons I just turn up every single day and do this content. It's one of the reasons I have my business and everything. Anyway, we're getting into the weeds. So let me run through my inputs, and some of these might not be relevant to you, but by watching this, you might get a bit of an idea as to how you can do this yourself. And I guarantee you, like literally, I'm gonna get an IOU from Elon Musk for $1 million. And if any of you have successfully, correctly guessed the last one I'm gonna discuss now, in fact, you can even, I'll even give you it till right up to the point where I say it, I'll give you $1 million, okay? That's me shaking the camera's hand. I don't know why I did that. Right, let's get into it. Okay, so some of these are super obvious, but most people don't pay any attention to them. So, diet. Okay, so the last 3 to 5 days, how's my diet been? It's been pretty good. I would say my diet is always pretty good. Like, it's always pretty balanced. It's very omnivorous. I'm conscious of my calories. I'm conscious of my macros. I don't track any of this stuff anymore because I've been doing it for a very long time. And as I say to my clients, well, you've been doing this for a long time, you don't need to track anymore. That's the beauty of tracking. People see it as this life sentence. But I say to people, if you do it very consistently and diligently for 2 months, you will never need to do it again for the rest of your life. That's not to say you won't want to do it, because some people love it. Some people use it as a guidance for themselves. And some people, what you can do is you can come back and do an audit. Just do a 3-day audit every now and then when you feel like you've lost track of things and stuff like that. But I would overall say my diet is not the issue. I wouldn't say I've eaten more or less, because sometimes people can eat a lot less than normal and then they wonder why their mood is low. It's because you've not got enough energy. It's very simple. Food is your energy. Calories is your energy. If you're severely restricting your calories, your mood is going to suffer, factually. But I don't think I've been doing that. If anything, I've probably been eating more, but not enough to necessarily put me in a place where I think it's negatively affecting me. What about my training? Oh, okay, so this one is definitely a factor. On Friday, I chose to go for a 5K run versus going to do a hard leg session at the gym. Now, 5K run, nothing wrong with it. It's gonna get a bit of a sweat on, gonna get the heart rate up, all that stuff, hashtag cardio, all that. But it is not as hard as me going to the gym and doing a 60-minute leg workout, because just in time alone, the run is going to take me 25 minutes, which isn't that good, I know. And the workout's going to take me 60 minutes. It's more than twice as long. It's more than twice as effort. So yeah, training, definitely a factor. Caffeine, 100%. I have definitely been drinking more caffeine, and caffeine later in the day. And the reason that's an issue is because obviously it affects our sleep. And you might have noticed that I'm looking, because I'm not necessarily looking at like the big ones, like, oh, well, I feel like this because I've slept badly. It's like, okay, but that doesn't solve the problem. We need to look under the hood of that. Like, why have you slept badly? And that's why I'm looking at these things, these factors. Next up is water. How much water have I had? I don't think there's been much change in my water. I think I'm pretty consistent with that, always have been. Maybe if I really think about it, I've drunk slightly less water. Could have an impact. I'd reckon that's having a minimal impact. So far for me, of going through this list, I think it's definitely the training and 100% the caffeine. And as you see what I'm doing, as I'm going through this list, I'm like starting to think about what I then need to tweak, what I need to change. And it's moving it from the, I don't know which side it is, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's moving from the emotional side of my brain to my logical side of my brain. I don't know if it works like that, but you know what I mean. And as soon as it becomes more logical, I'm like, okay, cool, well, I can do something about that. I'm not emotional about it. Whereas if I just turn around to you, or you turn around to me, let's say, and say, oh, Doug, it's because you've been drinking too much coffee, I'm much more likely to get defensive or, it's an impulsive reaction, right? It's an emotional reaction. Whereas if we take a little bit of time, move it from the emotional to the logical, and then go, okay, yeah, I need to get my shit together on X, Y, or Z. Then we can control it, okay? So next one obviously is sleep. Sleep is a big factor. How's my sleep been? No, I feel well, from a quantity point of view, I feel like I've been sleeping a lot. I'd say I've been getting sort of probably actually asleep, like 7 hours a night. I've not been waking up in the night, which is a huge thing for me. So deep sleep. I have been having some pretty wild dreams, which isn't unusual for me, but I'd say they've been wilder than normal. And unfortunately, not the kind of wild ones you want, which is a shame. Just really, they've not been like horrendous nightmares, but they've just been a bit weird, just a bit all over the place. And I always feel not as well rested when I've woken up from a night of heavy dreaming. But I think a lot of that, and this is again anecdotal, I'm not a sleep expert, I think it's a connection to screen time. And I've been spending a lot of time on the laptop, quite intensively working, like really focusing. So I think a lot of it probably has to do with that. Next up is connection. So actually speaking to people, seeing people in real life, like actually having body contact with people and stuff like that. And this one has definitely suffered. Like I didn't see any friends in the last 9 days. I saw a friend last Saturday, it's Monday, so yeah, 9 days. So yeah, that's probably an area of issue for me, definitely, trying to see people. I think whenever I don't see people, I try and over-index speaking to people, but that's just WhatsApp, right? You're basically just having a conversation with your phone. Where I can, I would do a FaceTime here or there, but for whatever reason this weekend I didn't do that. So connection is definitely one. I'm thinking now like, okay, yeah, I know what I need to do there a little bit. Maybe do I need to just have a quick Zoom call with a mate or something like that? And then the last two, they kind of go hand in hand, so I'll do them together. Sunlight and fresh air. Now this is 100% a factor for me, but it's not one I'm gonna get upset about or obsessive about because I can't influence it to an extent. I mean, I could influence fresh air because I could just go outside more. But basically, what I mean by that is if the weather is terrible, which it has been here, very rarely we get terrible weather, but it's been fucking awful, then it's just less attractive to go outside. There's less sunlight. You feel the energy's a lot more negative in the air, and you know, you just want to go less and stuff like that. So I feel like definitely that has definitely been a factor as well. So do you see what I mean? We've kind of gone through a few factors there. I still haven't done the last one, by the way, so if you haven't guessed it, now is your last chance. But what we've done is we've gone through those factors there, and I've gone, yeah, okay, of those ones, I'm picking out training, definitely, caffeine, definitely, water, maybe, connection, sunlight, fresh air. So there's quite a few. And now I'm like, well, yeah, no wonder I don't feel great. No wonder, Jesus. No wonder I haven't felt great, right? There's a lot of things there. It's not a terrible score. Like I've been on my diet, I have been going to the gym, you know, I have been drinking water, I have been sleeping. But if you're used to operating at a high level and then you stop doing some of these things, you're gonna feel it. And as I said right at the beginning, unfortunately, bad inputs translate into negative outputs very quickly. Such is the unfairness of life. But the last one, which nobody has guessed, I know they haven't guessed it, is constipation. So, this is kind of wild, but it's 100% true. If you are constipated, it will have a negative impact on your mood. And you know what's so funny? Is we see this and we know this in children, but then at some point when we become adults, we stop caring about it. But it is incredibly true. And I have made a slight tweak to my diet in the last 2 weeks where I've, almost as an experiment, increased my red meat intake, I guess you could say. And maybe it takes longer than 2 weeks to sort of feel the benefit of it, but I've actually decided as of today to wind it back a little bit. I'm certainly not going vegan or vegetarian, don't get excited. I am still 100% in favor of people having an omnivorous, balanced diet. As you are a human, you should 100% be doing that. But yeah, I think that's definitely a factor there. So there's quite a lot there, and there's quite a lot to look into for myself. And hopefully this has been helpful for you if you have been struggling to understand why you've not been feeling great. So hopefully this has been useful. I encourage you to be introspective, to sit down. It doesn't take long, you know, less than 10 minutes. And as I say, these are just my inputs. You may have other inputs. You know, I suppose one I didn't really talk about is stress or work or, relationships, things like that. You know, they're not necessarily relevant to me. I mean, I'm not in a relationship, so that's not relevant to me. The work and the stress, I'm at a point now with my life where it just is like, it's just a constant thing, and I'm not moaning or complaining. I love what I do. I would do this over anything in the world, but I don't consider that necessarily an input I need to be concerned about, nor do I have much choice about that input. So I don't think about it too much. I just get on with it. I feel like stress isn't, well, we're gonna go down a whole rabbit hole there, but we won't. But yeah, anyway, I'll wrap it up there. Hopefully this was useful, guys. And let's see if this content catches fire. We've got the fire extinguisher ready to go. But yeah, no, it's been fun. I've enjoyed this one. Hope you found it useful, and I'll see you tomorrow.